All right, let's jump right in. If you're an executive or a workflow manager integrating AI into your daily operations, you're currently facing what we call the AI enterprise dilemma. Today, in this explainer, we're unpacking the hidden enterprise risks of AI chatbots using some brand new independent data straight from the Forum AI Newsbench study. We're going to look at exactly what happens when these powerful tools are tasked with handling complex news, current events, and political information. To really grasp the scale of this dilemma, just think about this number for a second. 1 billion. We've got over a billion people globally using tools like ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, and Grok. I mean, these systems are absolutely ubiquitous now. They're woven right into the fabric of our daily enterprise operations, everything from drafting comms to synthesizing complex research. But with that kind of massive adoption, we've really got to step back and ask, how reliable are they truly when the stakes are high? So, here's our roadmap for this explainer. We'll start with the AI enterprise dilemma, benchmark factual accuracy, navigate built-in model bias, uncover the foreign sourcing security risk, and finally, cover mitigating AI workflow errors. Let's start with Section 1, benchmarking factual accuracy. Are enterprise AI tools actually getting the facts right? So, Forum AI collaborated with top academics and journalists to build the Newsbench leaderboard, and they rigorously tested around 12,000 chatbot responses to complex news questions. And honestly, the breakdown is a real wake-up call. As you can see here, a staggering one-third of those responses, about 33%, contained a factual error. Think about that in the context of your business. 1 in 3 outputs could have a wrong number, a messed up date, a hallucinated policy, or a totally misattributed quote. If your team is relying on these tools to pull data for a board deck, a one-third failure rate is just a massive operational liability. But here's where the plot thickens for your actual tool selection. That accuracy, it's definitely not uniform. Notice the stark contrast here. ChatGPT actually performed significantly better, with an error rate of just about 10%. But then you look at Grok and Claude, models that are incredibly popular for enterprise use, and their error rates spike to just over 40%. Why such a huge gap? Well, the researchers point out that it really comes down to how much time these companies spend training their models, specifically on current events versus, say, coding, and what external sources they're actually allowed to access. Moving to Section 2, navigating built-in model bias, the predictability of AI leanings. Beyond just getting raw facts right, we've got to objectively examine how these models handle neutrality. This directly impacts your brand's safety and the objectivity of your internal research. The Newsbench study found that in 15 to 30% of cases where multiple perspectives exist, the models just abandon neutrality altogether and actively take a firm position. And here's the real kicker. This built-in bias spikes significantly when users ask open-ended questions. If an employee throws in a broad prompt like, "What should I think about this policy?" the AI is way more likely to feed them a biased perspective instead of a neutral overview. Now, impartially speaking, this data maps out the predictable political leanings of these major tools when they do decide to take a stance. The study found that Claude, Gemini, and ChatGPT consistently leaned left, whereas Grok consistently leaned right. Look, we aren't here to judge the politics, but as a workflow manager, you absolutely must account for these baked-in perspectives during your team's prompt engineering. If you know a tool inherently tilts a certain way, you have to design your prompts to counterbalance it.
That brings us to Section 3. The foreign sourcing security risk. Where is the data really coming from?
When these models don't know an answer natively, they scrape the web, and the results are pretty alarming for enterprise security. In approximately 15% of the tested responses, so 1 in 7 answers, the AI actively relied on foreign, state-sponsored media sources. Just let that sink in. 1 out of every 7 times these bots went looking for news, they pulled from state-run media. And startlingly, they weren't even just using these sources for international news about those specific countries. Chatbots literally utilized outlets like China's Global Times to formulate answers about U.S. domestic politics. They cited Russia's RT to answer questions specifically about American political division. The models are pulling from sources that have absolutely nothing to do with the home country of the publication, injecting state-sponsored narratives right into the answers they serve up. I mean, this represents a massive, often totally invisible vulnerability for your enterprise intelligence. Which leads us perfectly into Section 4, mitigating AI workflow errors, actionable steps for enterprise safety. Okay, the good news here is that these problems present in consistent ways, meaning we can build workflows to defend against them. Here's your mitigation playbook based on the study. First, organizations have to target and prioritize known errors. Since we know open-ended questions trigger bias, train your staff to write highly specific, constrained prompts. Second, we need to design systems for transparency. The scary thing about chatbots is they always sound 100% confident even when they're hallucinating. We need interfaces that force the AI to admit when a source is weak. And third, you absolutely must shift from a culture of blind trust to mandatory human-in-the-loop verification. This quote perfectly nails the profound mindset shift we need right now. As Robbie Goldfarb from Forum AI points out, we should definitely be excited about AI. These are amazing products to help us navigate the world, but we have to know their limits. As he puts it, we need to recognize that they're not a replacement for our own critical thinking. You still have to search it yourself. You still have to check the underlying source. The AI is your assistant. It's definitely not your replacement. So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this vital question. How do your current enterprise workflows account for AI's confident inaccuracies? Are you operating under this illusion of perfection, or have you actually built a system that anticipates that 1 in 3 error rate and that 1 in 7 foreign sourcing risk? Take this data, evaluate your internal processes, and make sure your enterprise is truly protected against the hidden risks of confident AI. Keep questioning, and I'll see you in the next explainer.